What is up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be following NOTAIL's IO. The reason for this is IO has fundamentally changed as a hero, and I wanted to just put out a video for all you support players on just how to play this new version of IO. I actually do think IO is pretty legit right now. In fact, if you've been watching any of recent Pro Dota, you'll notice that against a lot of teams, specifically I think against Enigma and OG, this hero is getting banned quite frequently, meaning it is valuable if you understand how to play it. And no, you do not need absurd coordination to play IO. The major strength and major reason why you should pick IO is for his ability to sustain a core in the lane and then buff them up in the mid to late game. I really don't think it has to be played around relocate to be good, especially in pubs. You do not need to play around relocate. Can you? Absolutely. Do you have to? No, and you're going to see that in this replay here. Relocate, is it useful? Yes, we'll see how NOTAIL does it. But is it necessary? No. So if you guys are excited for this support video and you want more support videos on this channel, click the like button. I would appreciate it a ton. We could destroy that like button. And now let's head into the video. Also, one thing I want to quickly say is if you guys are interested in support content, over on the main GameLeap website, I made a video on how you could stomp the first 10 minutes. So if you're struggling with your laning stage, I go over a Crystal Maiden replay, and honestly, it applies to any support, but they absolutely dominate that game, right? I think actually, yeah, it was a really great replay analysis where I talk about trading, polling, everything you need to know. And on top of that, I did a Rubik analysis of something similar. So yeah, if you're just trying to learn your early game supporting, sign up to the GameLeap website, and I think you're gonna love it. But nonetheless, let's get into his starting item build. Number 1, he has a salve. Number 2, rank of protection. 7 tangos. Obviously, he had 9 and gave 2 to Thompson's Vengeful Spirit mid, a ward, and a branch. I really do think that maybe this branch could be a fairy fire, you know, but this is his personal build. On top of that, you're going to start Tether level 1, and I would like to mention the fact that he's going top here. I do think this is a good decision because they're trying to scout out the lanes, they want to take the top outpost, and they want to avoid the potential tri-lane from Enigma. Alright, getting into the laning stage for IO, you have one main job, and that is to synergize with your carry in any way possible. If they need health, you eat a tango. If there is a deny coming up, you go for the deny. In fact, you even want to secure creeps with your right clicks, and that's where IO can be a little bit complex. Personally, I do recommend picking this hero with like some sort of a carry, right? So if you have a friend who you can play support plus carry with, or if you can find someone in a pub that you synergize well with, you know, add them to your friends list, guys. I really think not enough people do this, where if you have a good game with someone, just be friendly, add them to your friends list, and all of a sudden, you can run things like IO Luna and stomp the laning stage. But let's get into NOTAIL's gameplay here. As you can see, he's going to constantly have a tango going. A lot of players make the mistake of only eating tangos when they have 200 or 300 HP, and this is a really bad habit to get into that needs to be fixed as soon as possible. It even goes as far to show that he's even willing to eat one for the side camp here. He's immediately prepping the side pole as well. And I think a large part of this is actually just to distract the supports of Enigma, right? If he goes for poles, they're going to feel like they have to contest, and he can obviously bully them out. Alright, so now let's quickly talk about IO's spells. So the main thing I want you guys to understand about NOTAIL's gameplay here is that he's going to be maxing out the Tether and Overcharge. In the past, IO was actually primarily played around his spirits as he would max them out. But not too long ago, they changed Tether to where now the HP and Mana Amp, which is the strongest part of IO, is now much worse at level 1 than it is at level 4. In fact, it nearly triples from 0.6 to 1.5. On top of that, the movement speed bonus that you give to the person you're tethered to is 14% at max and only 5 at level 1, and Tether slow even scales. Yes, Tether, for everyone who doesn't know, was changed to what it used to be in the past, which is a slow. So anytime someone is in between your tether, right, they're on the line of the tether, they get slowed by 8% at level 1 and 32 at max. On top of that, Overcharge is honestly just a broken ability, and I'm not just saying that. This ability legitimately is insane. I really don't think people understand how the max HP regen works, but I'm going to give you a couple examples of it throughout this video, and you'll see why it's just honestly way too powerful. Now quickly, I want to give a general tip about trading with IO in the laning stage. We're going to see an example of it coming up here, but anytime you're laning with IO, all you really want to try to do to win the lane, besides healing them up, is to hit the same person. I know it sounds very simple, but players don't actively think about this, and therefore they don't bully people together. But you can constantly see that NOTAIL is matching the movement of Sumail. If Sumail moves up, NOTAIL moves up. If Sumail moves back, NOTAIL moves back. And you can see it's kind of just a game of like doing that over and over again, right? NOTAIL thought maybe there was a gap to go on GH, so he steps up. He realizes Sumail doesn't go for it, so then he backs up. And you're kind of just playing limbo with your carry. Now I would like to give an example of why Overcharge, in my opinion, is relatively broken. I think there's a couple of reasons for it. So, number 1, he doesn't actually have it going on right now. It's a bug, but IO, right now, as he has a tango going, has about like 7 HP regen, right? It's like 7 or 8. With overcharge going, as you're going to see when he tethers Sumail here, Sumail is actually going to have 14.7 when tethered with overcharge. So yes, he has 14.7 when tethered with overcharge, because overcharge gives HP regen. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So then if you have 100 health, you get 0.5 HP regen, which is actually quite a lot in Dota, considering heroes in the laning stage with a couple levels average around 700 to 800. So all of a sudden you get 4 or 5 HP regen, which you guys should know is quite a lot. Next up, I'd like to briefly talk about the items that NOTAIL buys within the laning stage. Number 1, he goes for a magic stick. This is very important and should be always bought on IO unless the enemy team literally doesn't have spells. On top of that, he ships out a clarity, and this is specifically only because he's laning with a hero that casts a lot of spells. But I would like to say that I think in a lot of matchups this is very useful. If you're with a Jug who needs to spin, you can buy a clarity. If you're a Troll who's spamming his axes, buy a clarity. If you're with a Luna, like NOTAIL is here, clarities are great, because you can all of a sudden give your Luna infinite mana. And that's what we see here. So as NOTAIL pops the clarity, I'm going to put it into regular speed, and you're going to see that the mana regen of Sumail is ridiculous. He just constantly has a clarity going, and yet he doesn't even have a clarity, which in my opinion is the reason why this is so strong. If you have a nuke-based hero, and you can spam your nukes, like literally spam them, off cooldown, you're going to win the lane. So next up here, he's going to pop overcharge, and they actually get gone on in the bottom lane. And you can see that he's constantly keeping tether going and not using his stick early. A sign of a good IO is not panicking with your heals. It can be a little bit hard, but basically what I'm saying is that he only really pops his stick at the last second, right? He only popped it there as he thought maybe Sumail would get jumped at the end by something like a Quap, right? But overall, he's healing Sumail up, keeps him alive through the majority of the fight. Unfortunately, he does end up going down at the end, but you can see that Sumail has almost infinite HP within the fight. The next thing I'd like to mention about NOTAIL's IO is that he never actually rotates to another lane. And I would like to say, guys, if you're playing IO, please do not look at your hero as I'm the rotate hero that runs around from side lane to side lane saving people. No, you want to be a lane dominator. I know that can sound weird, but you want to stay in the same lane and make sure that you win that lane and win it hard. So if you get ahead, don't say, oh, I'm ahead, it's fine, I can leave. No, stay and keep going, right? Keep winning the lane. Stomp the lanes over and over and over again until the game is basically over. One thing I'd also like to mention is you can only level tether if you actually untether, so just keep that in mind. If you level up at level 3, you're going to want to take tether. At level 5, you also want to take tether and overcharge in between that, of course, so just make sure you quickly untether anytime you gain a skill point that can go into tether. And now you can really see, for the next portion of this game, NOTAIL is really just going to be following Sumail around, and anytime he has overcharge and Sumail wants to farm a large cam, he's going to pop it. On top of that, he's even going to drag out the next wave to NOTAIL. It really is a nice little love bond they have going on here. They do suspect that a gank was coming, so they backed up while farming that small camp, but as they see the tiny mid, they go back to farming. Just some really good map awareness from OG. On top of that, you can see because they're constantly playing together, they're always looking to make potential relocate plays. The tiny was diving Saksa. Unfortunately, Weehaw was smart enough to back out, and a Fisher came through. But basically, that's what I'm saying, guys. When you're playing IO, you don't need to be synergistic with your entire team. All you need to do is look for dives and then bring your carry to it. Other than that, you're going to be splitting up the map and farming, and of course, if you get ganked there, you can try to keep your carry alive. In my opinion, it's a pretty simple format that, if ran properly, is going to stop your games. So remember, that format, all it is spam overcharge off cooldown when farming, just to amp up your carry's attack speed, as when it's level 3, you give a 110 attack speed, 110, which is a ridiculous number, right? 110. And so yeah, just do that and then relocate to dives. It's really the best way to play. Now let's look at this next engagement here. You're going to see once again, NOTAIL is not panicking with his tether. He's building up wand charges as the fight goes on, all the way up to 16 charges here. And because of that, he's able to go in here and basically full heal Sumail. You really can see how ridiculous that actually was. On top of that, when he pops the overcharge to Sumail, all of a sudden, with no HP regen items, 0! Sumail has 16.3 HP regen. 16.3 with no HP regen items, which is really what makes this ridiculous. Mind control goes in, he's like, oh, I can kill Sumail, I can burst him. Nope. And that's the cool thing about IO. You make people make bad plays because they go in, they assume, oh, we're gonna get the kill. But no, then they overcommit. You win the fight because a hero like Quap or Puck or Ember is going to overextend, assume they can burst someone down, and then you get the kill. And finally, I promise guys, this is my last example of overcharge, but as he tethers I just think this is so funny. As he tethers to Kunkka, you're going to see, alright, currently he has a Spirit Vessel on right now, right? But as the Spirit Vessel runs out, you're going to see his actual HP regen right here. So, he has 7.3 HP regen on the Kunkka, right? Then NOTAIL is going to pop Overcharge, and it brings him all the way up to 21.6. I mean, I don't know, how funny is that? To me, that's just funny. It's just funny, like, that's just absurd. Following that up, his next item is a bottle. I do think this is good. Obviously, you can provide mana and HP to your teammates, especially mid-fight. On top of that, usually people go mech as well. Sometimes you'll buy Urn. They decided that they wanted an early Spirit Vessel this game, so mid one ended up buying the Urn. So, you know, NOTAIL didn't buy it. But generally, the items you want to be buying right now on IO are Wand, you can buy a bottle, you can buy an Urn, and of course mech as well. On top of that, IO really allows your team to play as if you have a Spectre. Now, I understand this is a bit advanced, but all I want to say is in pubs, usually carry players will complain to me saying, you know, speed, how do I farm when I think my team is going to fight? Well, with IO, you can do this at any time. You basically have Haunt almost always, right? Relocate is a relatively low cooldown at 90 seconds at level 1, right? That's pretty dang low. And because of that, you can see that they're farming the bot side of the map, which relieves the pressure from the bot side, and if a fight happens to break out, then NOTAIL can say, hey Sumail, we're going in, let's relocate. And even in this case, he actually decides to bring Sumail to the mid lane just to farm a wave and look to push the tower. He pops the overcharge, they get a bit of damage, and back out they go. And really, that's just a cool little efficiency play. And as I said, relocate's a ridiculously low cooldown. In fact, it even starts ticking as you're in relocate, so by the time you come out, it's basically only 70 seconds, and yeah, that's just how this works. Now let's look at a very cute play from NOTAIL here. It's at the 20-minute mark, he has a bottle, and a big engagement was coming out on the bot side to secure bounty runes. So what does NOTAIL do? He relocates top, fills up his bottle, completely fills back up his mana as well, and of course gets both of the bounty runes. Just a nice little play to make. On top of that, he comes back into the bottom side of the map, pops his wand to heal up Thompson, does end up going down, but you can actually see that with the help of the overcharge, it took Nigma fairly long to actually take down the IO. You're a generally tanky hero as you buy defensive items, right? You buy a mech, you buy a wand, a bottle, he has a nether shawl to deal with the magic damage, and on top of that, you're a strength hero, so naturally your HP is a little bit higher. IO's natural strength per level is actually 3, it's very high, it's actually one of the highest in the game, obviously because he's a strength hero, and therefore you're naturally tanky. All you have to do is buy armor, and on top of that, you can see he even is going to buy a cloak next. The side of Nigma is almost primarily magical damage. In fact, who's going to be jumping the IO this game, right? From NOTAIL's perspective, who's going to go on him? It's either going to be the Quap or the Tiny. Sure, Riki could as well, but in my opinion, Riki has to put more of a priority of trying to kill the heroes like Luna and Venge this game, otherwise they basically never will. For your level 10 talent guys, I recommend you take 4 HP regen. I think this is generally the correct talent on IO, only for the reason that, you know, even though you are giving 140 attack speed to both you and your laning partner, or I guess your carry in this case, you still don't really want to go damage, only because you're going to be buying all defensive items, and this is a position 5 IO, right? So you're not going to have as many items as maybe the old, you know, spirits-based farming sort of IO used to have. And now really here you're going to see the full force of just IO as a tanky hero. I want you guys to think about it. If this is your average Crystal Maiden, or, you know, let's say it's a very underfarmed Mana Boots of Rubik, they're probably going to die right away. But because NOTAIL has a cloak and the nether shawl, he actually is going to get jumped by Weehaw and lose like no health. It was only half of his health. A tiny combo is supposed to do a lot more than 600 damage, but it doesn't. He's able to get off his wand, gets 4-staffed, swapped out, and Weehaw has to chase all the way to the tier 2 tower to actually finish him off, and of course that's going to end up getting him killed. Naturally, they get a return kill onto the Riki and the Tiny because they both had to overextend just to try to kill an IO, and then they lose the fight. And that's the reality of playing these defensive supports. If you're tanky and the enemy team commits on you, all of a sudden, the game of your cores becomes very, very easy. It's easy for them to punish heroes that are chasing because they don't actually have to chase, right? The Luna can get off a god tier Eclipse every single time because the IO is getting dove. And I want you guys to think about that. IO is a hero that is constantly going to get dove, and therefore Luna's Eclipse is just super value with the hero. On top of that, I really like this Venge with IO, just for the pure fact that the Vengeance Aura gives IO 13 strength, which is a very large amount of HP. It's 260. And honestly, as funny as this next clip is, I really would like to just show you guys that NOTAIL is really not concerned that much about getting jumped. Usually I would warn you guys to have much better positioning and constantly just try to keep yourself alive as a support, purely for the fact that it will make people overextend. But in Io's case, you do have to stay relatively close to your carry, and therefore getting jumped is very normal. But as I said here, him getting jumped sets up for the perfect eclipse, and that's exactly what happens. Weehaw nearly gets solo killed by it, even though he is a 1900 HP tiny. And that's really the strength behind this combo. On top of that, I would really like to say that just use overcharge, guys. If you're playing this version of IO, spam it, spam it, spam it. That's one of the best tips I can give, only because I know for a fact that people struggle with this. They're like, oh, maybe I need it for when they get jumped. I need to give them that key HP regen. No, get it out. Use it so people can push towers, so people can rosh, so that they can take, even if it's just a small camp, it literally can be a small camp. Spam it to amplify your carry's farm, and just amplify their overall GPM. And finally, the last thing I would like to say is that, well, before we end off the video, is that you generally do not want to actually save other heroes. The main goal of this IO, from what I've seen from just top tier IOs as well as NOTAIL in this example, is that it's mostly played as a carry buff rather than like an overall save hero. However, if your carry is not being threatened or not in right click range, you can obviously look to save your teammates. And that's what NOTAIL does here. He tethers to Saksa. He gives him the overcharge HP regen, pops his wand, and is able to help secure the kill onto mind control. But now, of course, after fully healing up the Saksa Rubik, he's eventually going to re-tether to Samel. Remember, you are buffing up your carry and spamming overcharge. That is the main purpose of this IO. It's not really to just save whoever gets gone on. As you can see, he's not re-tethering instantly to Thompson here. He's completely sticking with Samel and just waiting till he can give him another overcharge, as well as movement speed, right? Luna is a hero that naturally can get kited, but with the help of IO, even with no movement speed items besides, obviously, the spider legs, he has 444 movement speed, which is extremely notable. And that's going to be all for today's video. I know it was a little bit different. I just want to make a support video to give you guys a new idea. I would say tomorrow, what we're going to be doing here on this channel for everyone, who comes back every day, and I really do appreciate you, I'm probably going to be making a, builds to try video, because Dota is a bit stale right now. I'll be real, it's been the same patch for a while. It's a lot of Lycan, Beastmaster Prophet, Luna strats, even Ricky Quap seems to be everywhere. And therefore, I just want to talk about, hey, what can you do to make Dota more fun? What heroes can you try? What builds can you go for? So get excited for that video. It should either be tomorrow or the following day. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. Peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general, and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me. But I recommend you sign up to GameLeap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster. Because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're going to see there, and I hope to see you there right now. So click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.